Hello and welcome to Rooted in Yad, where I talk about what it's really like living in Jamaica so that you can know what to expect and how to thrive if you're planning to make the move here. And today is going to be part two of the rental process in Jamaica. I'm interviewing NICOLA, who is a licensed realtor in Jamaica. This is part two. If you haven't watched part one yet, I would think it's going to be helpful. So I would actually say go watch part one. The link will be in the comments and in the description. If you haven't watched part one, go watch part one because this is going to be a continuation of all that we're discussing. So go watch part one and then you can come back and watch part two. It'll be here for you. But this is part two and we're just going to get into it. I'm just going to have it continue. Okay. So it's kind of like buying a home in that sense.
It's the same process. Exactly the same process. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I think one more question I did want to ask here, because I asked about if there are things that may surprise people. I know when I'm looking at rentals and it says unfurnished, they mean no fridge, no stove, no appliances.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that still going on? I've heard mixed things.
Okay, so my understanding is that in the US, so remember I'm learning myself, right? Because I'm from the UK. So my understanding is that in the US, those items you mentioned, so in the UK we call it white goods, so basically like kitchen appliances, they're all included. Mm-hmm. In Jamaica, they are not. So when it says unfurnished, it means unfurnished. Nothing. Nothing is in the property. Not the curtain, not the fridge, not the TV, nothing. So you must buy everything you need for the property. Yeah, we do. So we can state whether the property is unfurnished or part furnished. If it's part furnished, it's likely it would have those kitchen goods and maybe a few other bits of furniture in there. And then you've got the fully furnished, which you would expect, beds, everything in it. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now I got it officially, because I've been hearing mixed things about, Jamaica is not really doing that anymore. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I know unfurnished means you get the house. That is it. Bring your own everything.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my next question here, we have a few more, is in terms of, I don't know if this is relevant, because if someone's working with a realtor, it seems everything's so standardized, but is there anything that people need to look out for in a lease or rental agreement, or are they all standard? Are they ever customized? Does the landlord ever customize them? Is that something people need to even worry about?
Okay, so leases here, the way the leases work in Jamaica is landlords are advised to have their lease drawn up by an attorney. So Jamaica can be quite bureaucratic. So anything that's a legal document will be drafted by an attorney. So most landlords have their own leases here. And we as in a realtors, other than being that middle person, we don't really get involved in writing up leases. So it's seen as a very professional and legal document, and that's why it's dealt with in that way. So, all I would suggest for the prospective tenant is to make sure you read through the lease. If you want to seek legal advice, then, we can refer you to an attorney to do that. Most leases are written in, language that you will understand. And obviously you can ask lots of questions, but we don't get involved in drafting the lease. So, yeah.
Okay. I just had another question kind of related to this and leases, but I was hearing from some people in terms of securing a rental, sometimes they have to pay a certain, not just first and last in security, but sometimes they have to pay 3 months up front, 6 months up front. Is that something that is standard that people can expect? Is this something they need a budget for? Or is it possible to just pay first and last in security? Or is it advisable to pay, X number of months up front?
Okay, so the standard that the realtors work to is normally 1 month in advance. We don't really do first and last year, standardly, but 1 month in advance. And then it's a security deposit. Here, the standard is for an unfurnished, it's 1 month security deposit. So that's 2 months you're paying upfront. If it's a furnished property, the general standard is 2 months security deposit. Obviously, if there's a landlord who thinks that their property, furnishings are worth millions and millions and millions, they may want to charge you a higher security deposit. But all of those things are negotiable. Those are our standards, but they are negotiable. I mean, I have a doctor who's going into a furnished property for an English couple that I'm just renting now, and he, unfortunately, although he's a doctor, couldn't afford to pay. It would be 3 months in advance. So, as in the first month's rent plus 2 months deposit, and they agreed he can just pay 1 month, so he's only paying 2 months up front. So everything is negotiable. I'm not saying that they agreed, but the question they asked.
Okay, thank you so much. That is good to know, because as I said, I was hearing different things, and I just want to ensure I'm getting the right information to people. Okay, so then my next question is about the mistakes. What are some mistakes you think people make when they are trying to rent here? Are there any mistakes you see, or is it kind of like, as long as you go through a realtor, you're good?
I mean, going through a realtor, you will have definitely guidance and that wealth of knowledge that they haven't come with to help, support you through the transaction. I mean, I was going to say one of the mistakes I would say is, especially if you're coming from overseas and you're not familiar with the landscape, is just, going through a newspaper, contacting the landlord direct, and then, hoping that that's going to work out with no issues. I would say that is a potential mistake. That you should definitely go through a professional who you then know the landlords that we are dealing with are, they're all vetted. So I would definitely suggest that. Other mistakes, I mean, just probably common sense things, not reading your lease, and then maybe down the line something happens, you have to, refer to the lease, and then you're not happy with the terms. So, make sure you read the lease and you're happy with them. Again, I've had prospective tenants come back to me and say, NICOLA, I'm not happy with this, not happy with this. We go back. Everything is negotiable. Everything should be a conversation. And that's also why, and that's why a lot of landlords use realtors. They don't want to have that direct conversation with the person. Not that it's an issue. They just prefer there to be a third party. And then, it just takes kind of the attitude out of the situation, and it makes it a bit easier to deal with. So it's not that there's a problem, but, we'd rather look at this and could it be worded this way, or what does that mean? And so everything's negotiable. So definitely look at the lease, make sure you're happy with it, and change the terms if you're not, or at least seek to get the terms changed if you're not happy with those. Mistakes. I don't think there's any real other mistakes. I mean, obviously, just don't. If you're paying in Jamaican money is very different. We're talking thousands and millions. So just make sure you're putting the right number of zeros and the right amount when you're making your payments. I would strongly suggest opening a local bank account and doing your transactions through that bank account, and just being careful there, because, again, I'm not sure about US and Canada, but compared to the UK, there are a lot of fees here that you have to pay. So look into what payments you're going to be making and how you're going to be making those, because that may be a potential mistake, because you could incur lots of fees. But yeah, outside of that, I don't think there's really any things that I would say are mistakes that people could make. Not once you're using a realtor, of course.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Even the money thing, because even earlier when I was going over just saying, oh, maybe the conversion is like this between Jamaican and US, and I said 80,000 Jamaican. I'm like, wait, that is wrong. After I said it, I'm like, wait, no, not 80,000. 1,200 is not 80. I meant 800.
Yeah. That's why I still use a currency converter, because that is, when it comes to money and figures, I would definitely make mistakes. So I have to use the currency, because I'm going from the UK to from sterling to the US dollar to the Jamaican dollar, and I can kind of do some things in my head, but I prefer to use the currency converter, because I know I'm not going to make any mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and then, so I think that answers, because the next question was going to be about whether people should go through a realtor or try and find someone try and do it on their own, which, yeah, doing it on I would say people can do it, it's just not recommended. I did it, but I did it because I am married to a Jamaican and I have the support of my Jamaican husband and his family. So if anything happens, they can help when you're looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when we were going to look at properties, they were the one driving us around. They could say, "Hey, actually, that's not a good area," or if we're driving up to the property and it doesn't look like a good area, they're like, "You know what? Let's just turn around. This is
Yeah.
not," because having to look in the newspaper, you're not seeing what the
Yeah.
property looks
Yeah.
like. You're not seeing the area. Even online, you're looking at pictures sometimes,
Yeah.
and that they don't even post all the pictures of the place, and you still have to go there and look at it anyway to make sure.
Yeah.
So it is just easier, I would say, for people to go through a realtor.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. If you know, and that's I think that's the main thing. If you are not going to use the realtor, just make sure that you know who you are working with, and that you have some support because things are done differently here. So,
Yeah, they certainly are. Oh, you know what? Speaking of things done differently, okay, I had another question pop up. I know that because I'm renting like a local, because I'm living here, so I know that when I'm renting, or I'm going to rent somewhere, I know the rental market is hot. So I'm going to come with a deposit or something so that if I like the place, I put down my money at the same time. Because if I leave and try and come back, the place is gone. When people work with realtors,
hmm.
I mean, the prices are higher, so maybe it's not like that, but I'm curious if it is still like that, if that's something people should keep in mind, that how much time would they have to think about?
I mean, so depending on what area you're looking at, there is a fairly high volume of property rentals on the market. But obviously, if you like a specific rental, then because of our process, which is a little bit lengthier than going through, a direct landlord, because we do have that offer process, which is a bit of paperwork, but it doesn't have to take long. So the sooner you have all of your ducks in a row and you're able to complete the paperwork and submit it, then the sooner we get the response back from the landlord, that's when we move to the deposit stage and draft agreement. So we do the two in tandem normally. Of course, the person can lock in a deposit straight away, and then we can always negotiate on terms if there was an issue there. So that wouldn't be a problem. I've had that done as well. But yeah, they would have to go through that paperwork stage first, and they would have to have their offer agreed before. And the deposit is normally paid to the realtor company, not always, but in 90% of the cases. We would collect the funds on behalf of the landlord. So again, they know that the money that comes to a third party is safe, it's secure. Because I, on the very odd occasion, I have had one or two change their minds at that point. And so long as we haven't handed it to the landlord, then we can cancel everything and give them back their money, and no problem at all. But once we hand over to the landlord, then it really is a situation between both parties, the tenant and the landlord at that point. So yeah, they can still act fairly fast, but we just have to go through that paperwork stage first.
Okay, but it does sound like people might have, unlike me, if I'm looking to rent somewhere, people would have some room to think, because if the landlord is going through a realtor company, then
Yeah.
they're going to understand, okay, there's a process, as opposed to if you're trying to do things like a local, it's like, well, you're competing with a whole bunch of other people. You better
Yes,
secure it the
that's
moment
the
you see it.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I think maybe the last question I have, second last question, is about if there are any red flags when working with other agents, maybe people need to be aware of, or if they need to be aware of any red flags with landlords. If there's anything like that you've noticed, because I mean, I know not every realtor works for everyone, but then there are some maybe people want to stay away from.
Okay. I mean, just to touch on what you had just mentioned, actually, because people hear this word locals and attorneys and expats. So the way I kind of see Jamaica is, I would say that when it comes to the property market, there's two markets. You have the local market, which you referring to, and then you have your professional realtor market. And let me just give a bit more background for the two. The reason I say there's two markets is because even though prices have risen here, exponentially, most locals' pay hasn't. So people in Jamaica who are working in the hotels, in tourism, in the vast majority of the jobs are paid very little money and can by no means afford these high rental prices that I've just referred to. And that doesn't mean that's the whole of the Jamaican population, because there are a lot of business owners and people in good positions that can afford those rents. But the vast majority of our people, unfortunately, are still on very low salaries and cannot. So they have to have their own market, which is the market that Misha spoke about, where the rents are a lot lower. So hence I did mention earlier that there are lower rentals. But I'm a little bit biased in the sense that I like that market to be for the local market because it is so hard for them. And like you've also mentioned, properties go boom, 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 boom. They're going to go because there's a lot of people and there's not as many properties that, you know, are necessary for the number of people. So I kind of like that market to work as it should for the locals and let them try and find, you know, a roof over their head. People who are coming over, as much as a lot of people might, I mean, you know, not to say that everyone overseas also has a high budget, but most of us coming from overseas will be on a better pay and can afford more than the locals. So hence we will have to pay more for what we're looking for. And most people overseas, we're used to a higher standard of living, and therefore that's what they're looking for when they come here. So the rents will be higher because Jamaica is moving into, you know, higher standards as they should. So I think I've lost a little bit of what we was, okay, yeah, bad people. So some of the things to look out for. There are, because the Jamaican property market is doing so well, unfortunately, like in lots of other areas, there are people who are claiming to be realtors who are not licensed realtors. So like I said, you do have the Jamaican Real Estate Board that you can go online and you can look up. We're called salesmen. On that system, we're called salesmen. So you can just look somebody up with their name and check that they're legitimate. We also have a license number, so you can check our license number as well. So definitely look out. Make sure you're dealing with a legitimate licensed realtor. So again, the only kind of red flag I would say, which I think I may have already mentioned, is if you're going to deal directly with a landlord, make sure they're the property owner. Is it someone who's just claiming that, you know, all right, let me tell you about a situation I know of. I have somebody who has a property and they come and go. So they're overseas, they come and spend time in Jamaica and then they go back. They have what's called a caretaker. And that person, when the owner was overseas, rented out part of their property. They had no authorization to do that. And I can't tell you what a mess they've created by allowing someone to come into that property. So yeah, make sure you're dealing with the owner and not some, you know, person who's trying to scam money from you, basically, because it does happen here.
Wow, that is definitely something for people to be aware of. I did rent one property years ago where that was the case, where the owner was overseas, and they did have a caretaker, but it was legitimate. There was, you know, it was an apartment, like the typical 3-story apartment. So there were different apartments, and the caretaker was on premises on the other side in their own little apartment. So that was, but I didn't know. I don't know. I never thought that someone would do something like that. Something I have recommended to some people is if they are going to rent here directly from the landlord, let's say they're not going to a realtor or whatever, I'm like, you know, if the landlord is going to and from, like they're overseas, it's actually better because then they're not going to hassle you, because the landlords I've had to deal with that live on premises have been absolute nightmares. And I'm like, I don't understand. I keep your place good. You tell me you're going to do certain things you're not going to do, and you're still here hassling me for stupidness. I'm out. Like one place I stayed there for a month and I'm like, that's it. I'm out. I can't do this anymore. So that's what I recommend to people sometimes. But then there's that, making sure, like, hold up, before they go back overseas, like actually make sure you're dealing with the landlord and not someone who is pretending to speak as them. So that's a very good point. I didn't even think about that. Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. So I think those are all the questions. I think the very last question I have is there anything that you wanted to mention or talk about that, you know, we didn't really get to here that you think is important for people to know? Is there anything you kind of want to talk about there?
Not really. I think we've kind of covered it. We've kind of covered the two markets. We've covered, you know, using a realtor or going directly. So those would kind of be the main things that might not be the general questions that I would kind of go over. So yeah, I think kind of covered most things.
Okay, cool. And when you did mention about the pricing for locals versus, expats and repats. I do also want to mention to people, because even though the price is much higher, like, I still feel like you're getting more bang for your buck. Like, I mean, if I could have afforded to live in a gated community and pay, you best believe I would be there. I would be paying that money. Because like 1,200, let's say it's 1,200 US, let's say it's 1,200 Canadian. Let's say it's 1,000 to 1,200 Canadian. In Canada, you're going to get a matches box for that. Like if you're in Ontario, you're getting a matches box. You come here to Jamaica and you're getting like a nice, like, place with like maybe 2 bedrooms as opposed to like a little studio, little tiny, you can barely walk 2 steps. But then you come to Jamaica and you get so much, like there's so much more bang for your buck. So as much as it seems more expensive, you're also getting more bang for your buck. And on top of that, you can have the opportunity to be in a gated community. As I say, if I could have, best believe I would have. Okay, so I think that is it. I also want you to, I don't know, shout out yourself. You know, do you have a website? Do you have, how can people reach you? Because I know once people listen to this, they're hearing how knowledgeable you are, and they're going to be like, I want this person. When I come, this person needs to help me.
Okay, so yes, I am on social media, on Instagram. I think I don't know what you call it, is it handle?
Yeah.
My handle is it's JA Realtor from UK. So just to make sure everyone knows I'm from the UK, but I am a Jamaican Realtor. So that's my handle there. And I think I may have slipped the word luxury in now. So I'm working for Jamaica Sotheby's. I've been with this company for 3 years. Sotheby's have been on the island 4 years. Prior to that, I worked with other local companies based here. And my contact number, so I am on WhatsApp, or you can call direct. My number will be +1 876 884 9483. And I'm on WhatsApp. So that's probably the quickest and easiest way to contact me. And then outside of that, I'll just give my email, which is my name, which is NICOLA, NICOLA, @sotheby'srealty.jm.com.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm certain people are going to be so excited. I hope you don't get over flooded. I mean, that's a good problem to have, but you know. All right. Okay, so that is it from me today. I really, really hope that you found this helpful or informative, or at least entertaining, but especially informative, because I live here and I found this very informative. So I hope that you found this as informative as I did. And if you did, do hit that like button to let me know and also let NICOLA know. Actually, we are going to be doing another interview on buying property in Jamaica. So if that's something that you are interested in, do subscribe so that you don't end up missing that interview. You can see, certain things coming up next. But, I also want to hear from you in these comments. My glasses are kind of dirty, sorry y'all. I do want to hear from you in these comments about, what you thought of the interview, whether you thought it was actually informative, whether there are other questions that you have, I don't know, maybe some things we didn't touch on that you're curious about. Do let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And, let's say you maybe know something that we didn't talk about and you're like, oh, but you missed this aspect. Go ahead and share it in the comments, because I'm sure other people are going to want to know. And if you are planning to move here, don't leave without grabbing your freebies. I have created more freebies at this point. I know I have one about like the phone and internet, one about the handling power outages. I have like 4 or 5 freebies. I'm creating more and more freebies all the time. So don't leave without getting your freebies, because I worked hard on these things. So do grab your freebies, as well as if you want even more support, okay, outside of my free resources, I have created 2 resources to help your transition go even smoother. So the first one is the Moving to Jamaica Starter Guide. You've probably heard me mention this in my videos already. I think at the point of when this video releases, it's still going to be available for pre-order for only $10, but parts 1 and 2 are released. If there are more parts, you will find find that information in the description and in the comments. So if you go look at the site, you're going to see the table of contents so that you can know what to expect. You're going to see information about, like, you know, handling transportation in Jamaica. You're going to see some information about, like, housing and rentals and stuff in Jamaica. You're going to see some information about cost of living, about medical expenses, stuff like that. So if that's stuff that you're interested in, do feel free to get the guide. Again, the pre-order is for $10 and parts 1 and 2 are complete. The next thing that I have for you is my my workbook. I created a workbook. It's called the Life You Want Workbook. Really, this is to help you if you're thinking about moving to Jamaica, but you're not sure if you should. That's what this workbook is for to help you figure out whether, you know, moving to Jamaica is going to help you to get what you want out of life. In fact, this workbook, if you don't even know what you want out of life, like, I created this workbook based on my process of me figuring out what I want out of life, which led me to Jamaica. And then I adapted that to, you know, moving to Jamaica to help you figure out whether moving to Jamaica is something that you want to do, something that will give you what you think you want for your life. So if that's something that you're interested in, it's only $5. It's a decent workbook. I've been getting very positive reviews on it. It's a decent workbook. So if that's something that you're interested in, it's only $5. You can print it or you can fill it out digitally. Either, you know, option is there for you. So the link for that will be in the comments and in the description, as well as one more thing, just in case you're interested, I did create a journal. I think I have it for about $7. And it's based on the prompts that I use. I did a whole series about handling stress in Jamaica. That's kind of what this journal is about. It's about the prompts I use to kind of help me think through things, to ensure I'm staying rooted and grounded in myself. So if that's something that you're interested in, as I mentioned, it's only $7. Links will be in the comments and in the description. And then there's a freebie to go along with that, which are the affirmations that I have used throughout the years to help me get my mind right. Okay, that was a lot, but I think that is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. And again, if you don't want to miss the next video about the buying property in Jamaica, then do ensure to subscribe so that you don't miss it. And I will see you in the next one.